All right, welcome back to the ThisIsBS series, and I have a very important guest today. For those in the recruitment industry, you'd be very lucky to spend time with him, and I know I am. I have the one and only Greg Savage.
And excellent at BS, apparently.
Excellent, great at BS. That's exactly what I want to bring into it.
Yeah.
Only if you're talking about the Waratahs, that's the only point of that, so what you'd be fine. So currently dead last in the Super Rugby channel.
Actually, I'm glad you brought up rugby. Shall we talk about the Rugby World Cup, perhaps?
I would do that, but I'm too busy watching the 2011 and 2015 one. I'm too busy watching
well,
that.
You might need to keep those in good condition because it might be a long time.
I wouldn't be surprised. Look, as much as I'd love to talk rugby, we're here to talk about some of the items for your BS. But first of all, why don't you tell the fantastic people at home, if they don't know about you, what you're all about?
So I've been in recruitment 40 years, which I know you're thinking is hard to believe given what you're looking at. But owning and running recruitment businesses obviously started as a recruiter, and it's a long period of time. So mostly I would sum it up by saying I built 3, maybe 4 recruitment companies. And in the last 6 or 7 years, I have acted as an advisor.
Yep.
And I find myself on the board of 12 recruitment companies, including the one we're at today, which is people to people. And so I'm in a very fortunate position where I tend to spend time with very passionate people I like, people who have done great things but want to take it to the next level. And I can sometimes help because I have made all the mistakes they're likely to make, and also got a few things right. And yet at the end of the meeting, I can go home and they've got to do the work. So it's an absolute perfect scenario.
I love that. Well, actually, I did the same thing after I went to your Savage Sales thing a few years back. I actually did more homework there than I've done in this job for a very long time. Actually, I've only about in the recruitment industry, so.
Good to hear. Oh, by the way, when Ben came in this morning, he said he brought me a present and then he'd forgotten it. So that was a classic piece of work. It's what we've come to expect from the New Zealanders. I have a present for him, and here it actually is.
Look, I appreciate the present, because here's a present I actually want, and I'm not sure if you've been watching the series. I've had 5 people reject my present, and I'm sure Greg would have done the same as well, so I'm glad to have this.
I would like to have had the chance to reject it, but it didn't actually happen.
I'll tell you what, one day it's going to turn up on your doorstep, and you're going to ask me how the hell I got it to your house. You're going to ask me about that. Alright, cool. So, for those who know about the series and how we do things, you offer up 3 BS items, and we kind of go through them, and you provide solutions for that.
Yeah.
So, let's just get straight into it. So, what is your first BS you'd like to cover today?
Right, well, I've decided then to come up with a couple that are really set about the recruitment industry, particularly by clients and sometimes candidates. And then a couple later on that recruiters say about themselves. And they are total BS.
Yeah.
And the first one is recruiters don't provide good value, they're too expensive, their fees are too high. That is the biggest load of codswallop. And there are a couple of angles we need to tackle. And the first is that talent is the currency of wealth creation. We don't have manufacturing companies anymore. It's all about intellectual property, smart people who are going to drive your business forward. So there is pretty much nothing that an owner or a manager of a business can do that's going to drive their company forward faster than to hire good people. And the fact is, if they could hire good people themselves, then the recruitment industry wouldn't be worth $550 billion worldwide and growing at 10% a year, which it is. Notwithstanding the fact that every HR tech guy thinks he's going to destroy it tomorrow. It's not happening. So I think the first thing we've got to examine is finding people that you can't find yourselves is worth paying for. But there's a second part to it, Ben, which I'm happy to elaborate on if you'd like me to.
Absolutely.
Sure, there's some poor recruiters, there's poor lawyers, there's poor footballers, there's poor everything. But the majority of recruiters do provide a service that has value, and the proof of that is that they're still in existence because recruiters are typically paid on success. So if they didn't find clients' candidates, they wouldn't get paid. Unlike an accountant, an accountant doesn't average tax return, still get paid. Doctor doesn't make you well, still gets paid. Lawyer doesn't win your case, still gets paid. Whatever it might be, but in our industry you only get paid if you're successful, therefore that by definition means that we're coming up with talent. So that's the first point, but the second point is, and this really goes to the crux of it, which is where, you talk about your series is called BS. This is like the platform upon which all BS in our industry is built, which is that clients are to blame for high recruitment fees.
Okay, so I'd like to dive into that a little bit in terms of that. So, of course, there are companies that'll have fees at, say, 10%, others at 25%, right? So, can you kind of just go through how you think the client has affected that number or the style and how that's been approached?
Right, first of all, let's approach it from the recruiter's point of view. The recruiter can command his or her fee by providing the client something they can't get themselves. Recruitment is not a loved profession. It's a grudge purchase, typically, like many things. We don't go to the doctor because we like it. We need it, right? If a recruiter can provide something that a client can't find themselves, they will thrive. Now, the things that the client can't do themselves or find themselves is access to unique talent. That mean candidates they can't find through their own resources. And the second part of it is managing the process and getting the person to the hiring table and helping to affect a decision in the client's favor, which a recruiter does, and most clients don't recognize that. So that's the first thing. But the big thing, the secret, the big BS is clients blaming recruiters for high fees, 25%, which might in itself be quite worth it because we need the talent. But the reason recruiters' fees are the level they are is quite simply because most recruiters only get paid for a tiny fraction of the work they do. And I can explain why that's the client's fault in a moment.
Well, I thought just hearing that as well is a big part. So is that when I did this conversation with Erin, she said sort of a similar thing in terms of like recruitment agencies vanishing. I think, or going away and sort of tearing away. I think the big question that comes out of this is, why is it that talent acquisition then doesn't have the resources that a recruitment agency has when they themselves have a part of their corporate, they have a budget, stuff like that? Why is it that they need to go out to these recruitment agencies?
Because it's the power of a third-party agency who is independent. Of course, BHP, Telstra, whoever it might be, can build a massive talent acquisition team. And they could be very, very good at their job, but they can never be an unbiased agent acting in the candidate's best interest. How could they? They want the person to work for them.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but if I'm a good recruiter and you come to me, I can advise you based on your career aspirations that working for company A is going to suit you more than company B. Not only that, I can advocate for you in there, get you the opportunity and affect your career. So there will never be a time, in my view, you should never say never because the world changes so fast, but in the foreseeable future, I don't see the third-party agency industry under any threat whatsoever in terms of totally disappearing. It will be heavily affected by technology and social mores and a whole lot of things. But good recruiters who provide that secret blend between the best use of technology and human influencing skills and the ability to find talent will thrive.
Yeah, so I think that's also very interesting in terms of you talking about, just going a little bit back on the point of the high agency fees as well. Do you find that talent acquisition, or like sort of like the companies that they're working for, actually start to force an undercut between each different agency just to get that business on?
Oh, they do that, but they definitely do that, and they think they're smart about doing it. And I've been in conferences, I speak at conferences all over the world, sometimes I sit in the back, and I've seen HR directors stand up and triumphantly say they've saved $100,000 or $1 million in agency fees by getting agencies to compete. It is laughable. They are getting the second-class candidates. Is it so hard to understand that if I'm a recruiter and you're a guy with great talent, I know that's a long stretch, we've got to really use our imaginations, but let's say you are a guy with great talent and I've got a client looking for your skills, and I've got this client here who's paying me 25% and that client paying me 15%. Where do you think you're going?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but here's the big point that we need to get. Companies think it's smart to give their job orders out in competition to get agencies to compete against each other, which is what you're sort of driving at. And saying, I'm going to give this job order for this UX designer to 3 agencies because I'll make them compete. Some sort of Darwinian theory of the survival of the fittest. It's the dumbest thing you can do, because actually, if you do that, agencies pay very little attention to those orders and they put their effort into those clients who give them a commitment. And in actual fact, let's say average agency fees in Australia are, I'll just make something up, 18%.
Yep.
If it were possible, and this is a pipe dream, for every client to give every order exclusively to one recruiter, let's say, we could halve our fees and would make 3 times the money. Because did you know that the average recruitment company only fills 1 job out of 5, but they work on them all? So that means they're only getting 1 fee for working 5 jobs. How much smarter would it be if clients found a good recruiter, so Ben's a good recruiter, he's a specialist in UX design, take this job, you've got 2 weeks to fill it. You put 100% effort into that because you know you've got a 9 out of 10 chance of filling it. You haven't got me coming along to gazump you. And you'd be happy if all your jobs were that way, to charge a lower fee. So the irony is that clients who give out job orders in competition are pushing up the price, not down the price.